And good evening, this is Bob W6CGX, and I'll be your net control operator for tonight's Papa Great Outdoor Net. This net meets every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Pacific. This is a directed net, so please go through net control at all times, and your cooperation is always greatly appreciated. Stations with emergency or priority traffic can come into the net at any time with a double break, and net control will respond appropriately. The Papa system is an open membership supported system in the Southern California area with coverage from the Mexican border to Paso Robles and from the Channel Islands to Las Vegas, Nevada. If you're a visitor to the Papa system tonight, I invite you to go to papasys.com, that's PAPASYS.com, and register as a guest. With your guest registration, you'll have 45 days of free access to the Papa system. At the end of your one-time 45-day guest access period, we'd love for you to become a subscribed member, continue to use the Papa system on a daily basis, and be part of the Papa system family. However, all amateurs are welcome to participate in the daily, weekly, and monthly Papa system nets regardless of their membership status. Again, this is the Papa system Great Outdoor Net. And no, I'm not transmitting from Cliff's house. Those of you that remember Cliff and KJ6CDA with his transmissions from home, sometimes on the Saturday night roundtable, it sounded just like that, maybe even worse. But good evening. And this is W6CJX for the Papa System Sunday night Great Outdoor Net. Hope everyone had a happy 4th, hopefully a safe 4th. And, well, like I said, if you didn't get enough fireworks, we're not going to do a whole lot here, but I just thought we would have a little fun. It's once a year we can do that kind of thing and learn a little bit of history of fireworks, stuff I did not know. And you might, but we'll see. All right, with that, let's get into some announcements coming up. I think next week we'll be starting those breakfasts, so stand by.
Here is a quick look at the Papa System weekly calendar for the latest news and upcoming events. The Papa Inland Empire Breakfast. Join us at our new venue. Papa will be meeting in person on Saturday, July 11th, 9 a.m. at the Redlands Municipal Airport Lobby. 1755 Sessoms Drive, Redlands, California. Because there is no food service at the airport, the Papa Inland Empire team will arrange for donuts and coffee for starters, and will be open to reasonable suggestions from our members for future alternatives. We will be offering ham license testing at 8 a.m. for technician, general and amateur extra class licenses. So come out and join us at our new Inland Empire breakfast venue and meet up with some of your on-air friends who you enjoy talking to on the air. Everyone is welcome to attend. The Papa West Side Luncheon. Papa will also be meeting in person on Saturday, July 11th at 11 a.m. at the Sizzler in Culver City. We will be offering ham license testing at 10 a.m. for technician, general and amateur extra class licenses. Special presentation, parachutes. Papa member, Bill KQ6BIL, will be speaking on the development of the Orion and SpaceX recovery parachutes. Before he retired from Airborne Systems in February 2025, Bill was the chief engineer leading the research and development team. He worked the very early days of both the Orion and SpaceX recovery parachutes in the California division. Please RSVP on the Papa website for the Inland Empire Breakfast, the West Side Luncheon, and for ham license testing at both locations. As always, the Papa Quick Start program runs in conjunction with all our test sessions and is a benefit for newly licensed technician class ham radio operators. Please see the Papa website for more information. Newly licensed hams are encouraged to join the new Hams Net Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. with Steve, KI6LOV, and please mention if you were part of the Quick Start program. The new Hamsnet is a great place to be able to connect with fellow new amateur radio operators. The USS Midway Museum radio team, NI6IW, will be on the air on Saturday, July 11th from 0900 to 1600 Pacific Time. They will be commemorating Independence Day. Please check the Papa website for all operating modes and frequencies. All this information and a whole lot more can be found on the Papa System emails and on the Papa website at papasys.com.
Well, okay, that sounds like a lot going on. We usually do have quite a bit on the first 2 weeks of the month here on the Papa System. And it sounds like a good venue out there. I think once we get it established and the room, if you go on the website and look up the airport lobby, I don't think you have to bring your passport or anything, but just maybe an ID just in case. And I don't think there's any TSA requirements, but you could come there and enjoy checking a place out. I'm sure it's cool, especially if you're into aviation at all. It would be really great. Okay, well, there's our announcements. Any other announcements for the net tonight before we get started? Please come now. Okay, hearing none, we will continue with the net. Oh, yeah, we've had a pretty good weekend. Like I said, did get to see some fireworks out in Moore Park. They have them on the 3rd. And I didn't look into the actual reason for that, and it's not really part of the net. So if anybody does know, I know Ventura does it, and also I think Fillmore has theirs on the 3rd. I used to think, well, maybe it's because it's, a school night or something, I'm just making that up. But I have a feeling it has to do with finance and city finance and how much they actually pay for fireworks. I did have a professional and a dear friend of the Papa System and amateur radio, a professional pyrotechnic, willing to come on and talk about some of his secrets. But I think we just didn't have enough time to put it together. So we may do that next year coming up. Be a lot of fun. So, okay, with that, let's see if Mr. Steve, Ranger Steve's out there tonight. I don't think he went to the cabin, but we will find out from him. I kind of know, but I pretend just for the drama purposes. Steve, KA6 LOV, the microphone is yours.
Well, good evening, Bob, and everyone out here on the great outdoor net. This is Steve, KI6 LOV, currently residing in a drama-free zone. And that's a good thing, because last week, when I gave the Bald Eagle Cam update, we did have some drama with Sandy having fallen out of the nest and hadn't quite gotten the hang of flying just yet. But in the last week, both Luna and Sandy have been flying around. In fact, I saw a video clip this evening of them flying together. And they currently have been spending their nights at the nest, mostly sitting on branches, but occasionally I think Sandy sleeps laying down, which is unusual for a juvenile. But anyway, so keep following along here for the end of the season, because they will be flying with their parents, learning to hunt, and becoming eagles a little stronger day by day. And it's always bittersweet to see them fly away and start their grand tour, and they'll be going out to find their own territory and start their own nest and families in the future. But never fear, there will be a new season coming up starting towards the end of the year, and I hope Jackie and Shadow have a successful brood once again. All right, next weekend I will be back out at the cabin, so I'll have a more proper report from the field. And you have a great net tonight. I hope everyone had a safe and sane 4th of July. KI6LOV, back to net control.
Well, thank you, Steve. And yeah, it's, has everyone really actually stopped and thought about this? You're a bird. You've been hatched. You've been in this nest since about Easter. I think it was Easter Sunday-ish, somewhere in there where they actually hatched. And now all of a sudden, you've grown up. You're 10 times the size you were when you came out of the egg. And I know instinct is everything. I mean, they don't go to school to learn how to fly, and they don't get a pilot's license. But gosh, I mean, can you imagine that first leap of faith out of the nest or falling out of the nest? I guess that was kind of like either sink or swim. But yeah, it's just amazing nature, and it just got to take that all in. It's just like, would you jump out of a nest if you never flown before? I don't know. W6CJX for the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. Thank you, Steve, as always, and we'll look forward to next week's trail report from the trail. Well, fresh off the trail, we'll put it that way. Okay, let's see. I got a really interesting 101 tonight. I call them 101s. It's about the history of fireworks. I hope you enjoy it. Listen up, listen up. Listen in on the parts of, where the origins of the firework or the firecracker. That was the one that really got me, was the origin of the firecracker. So just sit back, grab a cold something, and or a warm something, whatever you got next to you, and we'll enjoy a little history of fireworks together.
Good evening to everyone on the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. This is Andrew. I will be your Papa System research host for tonight's net. Fireworks history. The history of fireworks is essentially a story of accidental chemistry that evolved from a tool for scaring off spirits into a massive global industry of present day. The timeline of how fireworks went from noisy stalks of wood to the brilliant sky shows we see today spans more than 1,000 years. The historical timeline and the accidental firecracker. 200 BC, Luoyang, China. People discovered that tossing fresh green bamboo stalks into a fire caused them to explode. As the air pockets inside the bamboo heated up, the pressure built until the wood burst with a loud bang. These are called pao chuk and were used to scare away evil spirits. The birth of gunpowder. 600 to 900 AD, Tang Dynasty. Chinese alchemists, looking for an elixir of immortality, mixed potassium nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal. Instead of eternal life, they created gunpowder. When they stuffed this powder inside the hollow bamboo tubes, the first true man-made firecrackers were born. Going global in the 13th century, Marco Polo and other traders, along with diplomatic travelers, brought gunpowder from China to the West. European militaries immediately weaponized it for muskets and cannons, but they also fell in love with the pageantry of fire master displays for royal victories. The advent of vivid color. 1830s Italy. Up to this point, fireworks were just bright golden sparks and loud noises. Italian pyrotechnicians revolutionized the craft by adding chlorinated rubbers and metallic salts. They figured out that burning specific chemicals created vibrant hues. The brilliant aerial displays we see today relied directly on the Italian innovations of the 19th century. Here is what is actually exploding in the skies overhead present day to make those colors. Strontium salts for deep red, calcium salts for orange, sodium compounds for bright yellow, and barium chloride for vibrant hues. I hope you have enjoyed these historical highlights of fireworks as much as I did researching the information to share with you. This has been Andrew for the Papa System Great Outdoor Net, and now back to Bob, W6CJX Net Control.
All right, so not only did Marco Polo bring back spaghetti from China, everyone thinks the Italianos did not invent spaghetti. It was the Chinese. And they invented the gunpowder. I didn't know any of these things. I figured something came out of China as far as, all the different booms and bombs and fireworks, especially of today. But if you really want to scare someone, I suppose you could bring in a few pieces of green bamboo and throw it in your neighbor's campfire. And just say, oh, here, got an extra piece of wood, throw it on there. And if they're already half cracked, they wouldn't know, and all of a sudden, kaboom. So sounds like a project that Logan and I need to work on. W6EJX for the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. Let's take a few check-ins and see who's out there. I want to see if you guys have some good childhood stories, whether they're good or bad, regarding fireworks. I think the vegetation limits, or however that works, is probably expired by now. So if you were throwing M80s in the sewer or in someone's backyard or in their pool, I think all that's expired now. They probably couldn't prove anything on you. And if you'd like to just check in and say hi, we're welcome to that too. So this is it. This is the Fireworks Net.
November 6th, Alpha Echo 6, Foxtrot, Victor November, Jim, Cerritos.
Kilo Delta 6.
Alpha Lima.
Kilo Delta 6, Lima, Lima, Bravo. I'll go after the chief, please.
Kilo Oscar 6, Delta Golf X-ray on my new toy, the headset.
Alpha Bravo 6, Mike Bravo, Jeff.
Kilo Oscar 6, Oscar Delta Tango, Robert.
Kilo Foxtrot 4, Papa Quebec Hotel, Ron.
All right, let's process those. I find my microphone and it's right in front of me. How do you lose a microphone this big? Anyway, we'll process these out. I think everybody was quite orderly there. And yeah, just any, I mean, I've got a few stories of things that happened. Not so many were in childhood times, but I guess one of my favorite fireworks you could also add in there too is stuff that you really enjoyed if you were able to even use the Safe and Sane. Were the snakes. If you remember the smoke snakes, the little charcoal thing that you light up, and oh, they made a mess. They left permanent burn marks on your grandparents' driveway, and that you could never get off. No matter how long you try. All right, let's say hello to Dale first in 6AQQ. Welcome, Dale.
Good evening, everybody. This is Dale in 6AQQ. Fireworks. I remember going to fireworks shows way back. And as far as Safe and Sane fireworks, I remember the snakes. But anyway, as far as bad experiences, when I was in junior high, somebody put an M80 in my locker and I couldn't hear for 3 days. So I remember that. Anyway, N6AQQ, good evening.
Yeah, the M80s were kind of life-changing in more ways than one. Those things were scary. And then they went to, half sticks of dynamite or something. The other trick that we found out, I don't know who taught us that one, and I'm sure somebody will remember this, is to take a Piccolo Pete and a pair of pliers and then pinch off about an inch at the bottom so that the fuse is going through it and burning everything, that when it gets down there, it has to kind of struggle to get through that pinch mark and then go pow. Gives you a nice little boom for one of the, yeah. Thank you, Dale. And let's say hello to Jim, KE6FVN.
Good evening, everyone on the net. KE6FVN, Jim and Cerritos. One of the things I remember growing up was going up to the Bel Air Estates and visiting my grandparents for the 4th of July, which also included my mom's birthday. She was a 4th of July birthday. And in the evening, watching several from over in the Santa Monica, West LA area, seeing several fireworks shows going off. KE6FVN.
Yeah, compare those days with today, which, you've seen the news and 9 o'clock news, 10 o'clock, whatever time on 4th of July, and they're just from one of the helicopters, news choppers that they fly around, and it just, they're popping up all over the place. It's really beautiful. I mean, but I know we're not really supposed to do that. But yeah, they were so much fun. And, when I grew up in Idlewild, as everyone knows, and no fireworks allowed up there and no fireworks shows. So we would go down to San Jacinto and watch them at the high school. I think down there, they used to have a really good chili burger stand. Oh my God, that place was so good. But we went there to watch the fireworks. And then a lot of times I would be down at my grandmother's house in Montebello, and we could buy them there. So I used to love like Red Devil fireworks, and I'd get all excited when I'd see all the stands, and oh my gosh, save up my money and beg for more. Thank you, Jim. Let's say hello to, we'll take Hal next. I switched Logan and Hal together here. N6HAL. Well, coming from your background, yeah, you probably have a few fireworks stories, but let's see what you got tonight, Hal, and welcome, Chief.
November 6th, Hotel Alpha Lima. Good evening, Bob. Thanks for hosting the net. Hello, everyone else. I don't have any specific fireworks stories to speak of. However, I do heard this story about a bunch of firemen went out camping at Ocotillo Wells one year, and they didn't have any fireworks, but one of the firemen had a Volkswagen transmission, and he decided to throw that on our already huge campfire we had. And most of you probably know when you burn magnesium, it gets pretty bright and looks like fireworks. And all of a sudden, a park ranger drove up, and we knew why he was there, or I should say they knew why he was there. And he walked up and said, "Are any of you guys chemists?" And of course, we all said no. He says, "Well, let me tell you what happens when you burn magnesium." So they commenced to get a lecture from this park ranger on the hazards of burning magnesium. But we got it out. We pulled it out of the fire, rolled around the dirt, put it covered with some dirt, got it out. Pleased the ranger, and he left, and we all started cracking up. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. November 6th, Hotel Alpha Lima.
Well, thank you, Hal. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Bringing a Volkswagen transmission. Yeah, we know what magnesium does. It definitely burns, 3,000 degrees, 2,000, I don't know, something like that. Yeah, like, or if you do the magnesium shavings for a fire starter, those are pretty amazing too. But yeah, can you imagine that? Wow, I bet that must have been really something. Well, people have done things, and I don't know, someone might have one of those stories tonight, but I've heard, and I think I actually know someone that did it, walked up, I think it was a girlfriend, and they were camping. I wasn't there. And she just was trying to tidy up and clean things up and grabbed this paper bag and, just threw it in the campfire because, it's trash. So let's burn the trash. Well, it was a bag of fireworks. Needless to say, that was probably a wonderful, fun time. Let's say thank you, Hal, so much. Let's say hello to Logan, KD6LLB. Try to top that one.
Good evening, Bob, and good evening, everybody out there. Hope everybody had a good 4th of July. Yeah, so I guess my assessment is can't say I've done all the dumb things, but I've done a few of them, most of them maybe. We used to have a lot of bottle rocket fights and blow things up and experiment with trying to make things that did more or worse. Got through it okay. Did get a few blackened fingernails and some expensive clothing damage. I brought a brand new jacket one winter and went over to a friend's house and promptly got shot by bottle rockets and got burn marks on it. So I don't know if I ID'd. This is Logan, Kilo Delta 6 Lima Bravo. So I was thinking about it just a little while ago, and hands down the best memory I have of the 4th of July was, I think it was McKinney Falls, Texas, and at least that's where I think that's where it was. Wherever it was a big community gathering near a lake, a small community gathering, and they had their own little fireworks show, and they also had the first time I had homemade ice cream, pretty much associated with the fireworks display, and I can't think of anything that's about as good as it gets, especially when you're maybe 5 or 6. And I think that fits the definition of American apple pie ice cream. So one last quick story. So the green bamboo, hollow bamboo, you throw it in a fire, you get an explosion. That makes sense. So when a couple of years after high school, I was building houses, and one of the people that I worked with, basically the two of us were putting up a house on a lake. I think it might have been, I can't remember what lake it was, but we were staying notionally in an RV that they had parked out there, and we just camped outside. The RV was just awful. And it was summer, but we would still have a fire at night and cook, and there was nobody around. It was an undeveloped area. And we started taking one by one aerosol cans that were all over under the cabinets in the RV and throwing them in the fire, and they would explode. And then we threw a half-empty can of Raid or something, some kind of bug spray, and it was a whole different category of explosion. It actually blew the fire out, scared the crap out of us, and local law enforcement was called by somebody like a quarter-mile away who came over to ask what we were doing. So anyway, be careful what you throw in fires. KD6 LLB.
I had a feeling that was going to be some of your stories. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I would have just said we don't know what we're doing. That's probably why you're here. It's the old don't throw your cans in there, and batteries, I don't know, they might explode. Well, Logan would probably just try it just to see. He's got that scientific mind of doing those kind of things. So I appreciate it, Logan. That was really good. You think of another one or two, chime back in. All right, thanks, Logan. Let's say hello to Rick, KO6DGX. How you doing, Rick, up in Santa Ynez?
Hey, my friend, I'm on Papa 6 and listening in. A lot of cool stories there. I have a couple of them myself. But, when we were little kids, we were out in Trona, just west of Death Valley. So my family lived out in Trona, and we were having our 4th of July celebration. And I guess us little kids were out there with sparklers and waving them around and stuff like that. So then they ran out of sparklers, and so how do we keep these kids entertained? They gave us road flares. They didn't mean, they meant well, but we were very entertained. Man, those road flares lit up bright, and we were waving them around. But, when you lay those road flares on the ground, and you can see that there's this heavy ash that is left as they burn down. Well, that's like this slag. This is like these chemicals, super, super hot. And when it's laying on the ground, that's not a problem. For a little kid waving it around in the air, I saw it when it happened. This slag, this big chunk of ash-looking stuff dripped off of that road flare onto my brother's arm, and he screamed, and man, he was burned badly. And they plans, but sometimes, what the parents think is going to be a good idea is not the best dose. So, with that being said, one more little shareable story with you, but I'll let other people pick it up, and I'll catch you on the other side with the recheck. KO6DGX.
Wow, Rick. Yeah, that's, can you imagine? Well, and they use road flares, I know, in fires, in the fire service too, for starting, they're probably special flares, I don't remember, but for doing backfires and things like that. But yeah, I guess that must have been really painful, because I think it's like a hot wax or something that's, all that chemical stuff. I've been watching, I love all these, outdoor shows, of course, I don't know why, but, the last version of Outlast 2026 from the jungle, and then their way of getting off the island if they want to tap out is to use a flare gun. And I just thought those are kind of cool. I know you just can't go around using them anywhere. In fact, I think that's what started the fire over on Santa Rosa Island. But either way, they're just a little plastic gun, that you put a flare into, and if you really needed to be rescued, I guess that would be something you could carry as a backup. Anyway, sounds good. Thank you, Rick. And let's say hello to Jeff, AB6MB. Welcome.
Hello, Bob, and thank you very much for doing the net. Real good subject. Well, my fireworks story is we were up in the Seattle area at my daughter's place, and my daughter and her friend had been drinking a bit, and And so we timed to light the fireworks, and they had what was called mortars, where you drop it in the tube and it would shoot it up in the air, and then it would explode, and it looked really cool. But my daughter, in a moment of a drunken mistake, put the motor upside down, the shell upside down into the tube. So instead of going up, it went down. And this big ring of fire blew out about 3 feet off the ground. And me and my buddy dove for the grass and rolling, and my daughter just got kind of sprayed, but she didn't get burned or anything. But I wish I could have had that on video of us just diving for the dirt. And we said, no more motors for you. And she's okay. But anyway, it was a fun time, and we lit off all these fireworks. We're out in the county, so we could have some pretty good fireworks. And the neighbor down the street, that was his thing every year. They have these super fireworks that he would blow off, that were legal there, which is kind of cool, actually. So anyway, back to Ned. That's my fireworks story, EB6MB.
Well, sounds great, Jeff. That's, isn't that, it's like, someone the other day on the air, I was copying the mail on the Papa system, saying how, I think he said they live out in Arizona someplace, and he goes, there's fireworks all year round. It's not just for 4th of July or New Year's. They're just there, and so it's just like, well, it would be kind of fun to be able to do that. And I remember taking a trip back to Missouri, for Rick. I should say it, Missouri. Back to Missouri, Cape Dorado, Missouri, and we went into a store like I don't know, it could have been a Western Auto back then, a long time ago, but some kind of a store that had a little bit of everything, and they just had this whole row of fireworks, and I was just like, wow, they actually have, rockets, and, and I'm coming from California where it's, don't even try to look for them there. All right, very good. Thank you, Jeff, as always. Do great jobs on the Antennanet on Friday nights. Let's see, I think I have a secret person I'd like to sneak in here. Her name is Carolyn, and her call sign is KK6LMC. So welcome, Carolyn.
Well, hello to everybody out there on the outdoor net tonight. I'm going back to when I was probably only 5 years old. I think I have pretty good memory, but I just remember my mom packing a really nice old-fashioned picnic blanket, and I remembered the basket and what it looked like. And then I think she would always cut up a watermelon, nothing real fancy. And so anyway, we would pack that up in the basket, and then I think she might have, did some sandwiches or something like that, and then we'd get excited, my brother and I, because there was a snow cone truck there. And I was at Woodland Hills, and it's called Shoot Park. And throughout the years, my brother would always put on really, really fun-filled parties out in Simi Valley when he had that house. And so Bob will probably remember a little bit better than I and explain it all. But there was some really wild things happening, I'll tell you, boy. Had the police coming a few times and just crazy stuff. But a lot of fun, of course. Everybody smashed and laying on the grass. Oh, my gosh. Okay, I'll give it back to you, Bob. KK6LMC.
Yeah, the key word there was Victor's homemade wine. That'll make you do just about anything, at least during the time that you're drinking. And next day, you're probably not going to do a whole lot. Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah, we had some good times. They're all good times. There were just a few scary times. But my brother-in-law was pretty smart. He's the guy that has the wild turkeys. If you remember, we had him on. But it'd been nice to have him on tonight. He has some good stories. But he was smart. He took all of his old fireworks from the year before, and they maybe tried a couple of them, didn't like them, so he throws them in a bag. And so he's got this bag that he just has sitting on the side of the garage. And as he's blowing off all the good stuff, then when the police come, they are going to say, give us all your fireworks. So he'd go in the garage and grab this bag and give it to them, and they'd say, okay, is that all of them? And they'd be like, yeah, that's it. And then they'd go down the street and then they'd start blowing some more off. So that was pretty fun. And then there was a buzz bomb. Was it a buzz? What did they call that thing? A buzz ball. If you remember those, this is something you'd light. It wasn't a mortar, but it was round. And then the thing would like take off like a helicopter or drone. I guess it was before the drones. The thing would go zzz, and go flying up, and then would like hover for a minute, and then just take off and go up in the sky. And I don't know if it exploded. Well, one of those went into the garage where all the This might have been another 4th of July, but it went into the garage where all the fireworks were. And thank God it didn't find the other fireworks. Otherwise, that would have been a disastrous night. W6EJX for the Papa System, Great Outdoor Net. And let's, I have a Robert with the Delta Tango at the end, and they were in part of a little collusion there. So if you could clarify that for me, and anything you have for the net, welcome.
Thank you, Bob. This is Robert, Kilo Oscar 6, Oscar Delta Tango. And I just wanted to join in on the net. I'm new to ham radio, had my license for about 2 weeks. Wanted to mention the fireworks. When I was stationed at Sao Air Base in Japan, we would go camping on the 4th of July out to a place called Red Ridge. And we had a guy that was very into pyrotechnics, and so we're lighting out fireworks all night. He took a 6-inch by 2-inch piece of pipe bomb out of it with black powder for a shotgun. We lit that off, and that got everybody's attention. That was one of the biggest explosions I've ever seen.
Okay, if you're still there, Robert, we had got a little noisy. You started off pretty good, but your audio is actually very low, and so that was hard to hear. But then when you got a little crackly and popping, and then you just dropped off completely. Move around a little bit, like if you can hear the sound of my voice. Looks like you're coming on Pop 11 or maybe 12 from Otai, and if you can hear me and find the clearest place that you hear me talking now. And then just follow up or whatever, just back to you.
All right, I moved a little bit. I'm on a 10-watt handheld. And I was just saying that we had a guy build a pipe bomb on 4th of July when we were in Misawa, Japan. And it was one of the biggest explosions I'd ever seen. And it scared us all, and then we had to check each other for holes because the bomb went off a little closer than we were expecting. But thank you for letting me get in on the net. I'll turn it back over to you, Bob. Kilo Oscar 6, Oscar Delta Tango.
That was perfect, Robert. Thank you. Well, when I do what I do tomorrow, I'll fix that, and you won't even know that you didn't check in with the scratchy signal, because that was a good one. So we'll use that. And wow, a pipe bomb. That's going to another level. I don't know that I'd want to. And at that same location at my brother-in-law's house in Simi, we had a friend that was a friend, but I don't think he was invited to the party. It was, I don't know, one of those strange situations. Anyway, he came by to kind of say hi, and while he was there, he accidentally dropped a quarter stick of dynamite, which is like an M100, 150, I don't know. I don't know my M's, my explosion stuff, but yeah, he dropped one of those into the sewer, which is like, the vent things or the drains on the sides of your driveways and things, sidewalks. And man, I mean, the earth shook. It was just crazy. And like I said, the statutory whatever is probably passed by now, so I can't give you his name. I forgot it. Oh, gosh. Thank you, Robert. Let's say hello to Ron. Last but not least, and he might have a couple more out there. KF4PQH. Ron, welcome.
It's KF4PQH coming in from Locust Grove, Virginia. Good evening, Bob and Annette. Fireworks. Our community fireworks were held last weekend. Quite a good display. Of course, everybody was trying to outdo each other this year with the 250th birthday. Then yesterday on TV, I watched the Macy's fireworks from New York City, where they were shooting fireworks from the Brooklyn Bridge and from barges on the Hudson River, and just wild and crazy. And caught the Washington, D.C. fireworks. It started about midnight because they had some bad weather in there, and the president had to make his speech first. And catching different parts of it. And I have a cousin that was in Brooklyn. He was sending me pictures of the tall ships sailing down the East River down where he was last night. Fireworks, we had an opportunity about 4 or 5 times to get together with groups of other RVers at a place called Sarah Rodeo Grounds in Lake Havasu. And every year, just adjacent to that, they have what they call the Winter Blast, and that is the annual convention of the Western Pyrotechnic Association. So they spend all day long learning how to make fireworks, making fireworks, putting them together, and then starting at 6 o'clock at night, they start blowing them up. This is held every President's Day weekend down in Lake Havasu if you want to get down there and have a fun time down there. But you got to get your reservations almost a year in advance. And you're within, a stone's throw or a mile or so. You can feel the concussions from them. You get fire bombs, you get ground things, you get air things. Every night there's a big show by one of the major professional manufacturers, and then the rest of the night up until 10 o'clock at night, you never know what's going to take off. Last but not least, treat everybody out there. Stay safe. Don't blow your fingers off. If you get a chance to do something nice for somebody, take that chance. It's KF4PQH, back to net control.
Wow. That sounds like a real blast. And yeah, pun intended. Well, that's just crazy. Making your own fireworks, I guess that would satisfy a lot of individuals out there that wish they could do something. But and you think about it. We did see the New York City. We were watching the Macy's fireworks. We were watching for Post Malone, our daughter's one of his fan club VPs, something like that. And so he was performing a couple of his songs there. But the fireworks show was just absolutely, it went so long that you almost had to go, wow, let's take a break. It was really amazing, and just some of the different colors and patterns. You got to think, like you were just saying about making and learning how to make them. I can't even fathom. I guess YouTube probably has a big thing. I'll have to go check all this out. I'm getting into fireworks, folks. W6CJX for the Papa System, Great Outdoor Net. And just quick thing, we had another incident there at my brother-in-law's, which was pretty interesting. We're all sitting around a table with an umbrella, and we've all been having a few adult beverages, enjoying ourselves like you're supposed to on 4th of July. And then someone decided to light off one of those little tiny small bottle rockets that just kind of shoot up. Well, it shot up inside the umbrella. And needless to say, there's a whole bunch of people scrambling, trying to get out of their seats as this thing is getting ready to explode, I guess. So that's just another one. At the bottom of my list at this point, I'll take any and all comers. If you have a story or something you want to say about your history of fireworks or your history with fireworks, whether it was something you did as a child or a childish thing, or maybe the childish thing happened last night, you can still tell about it. And let us hear your stories. Please come now.
Foxtrot Golf, KA6WLD. KA6WGN.
The other station.
Papa Echo.
KA6AACO.
All right. There we go. That sounds good. We got a nice little group there. I did miss one, though, because, and hopefully not two. I got Delta Victor, I got FGW, WLD, WTN. The other one I think came in right around Jeff, WTN time, and then a Papa Echo and Doug, ACO. So if I didn't just call you, or a person with the Papa Echo, let's start there.
Yeah, that's correct, W0PE Fred.
I thought it might be you, Fred. Thank you. But that's all I kind of heard with that. Okay, let's go to the top, or let's say if I missed anyone, let's clean it up. We'll just make this kind of our final round anyway. So, did I miss anybody? Anyone wants to get in the final round?
KN6WRB. I'm pretty sure I doubled with WTN.
WRB, we gotcha. Okay, sounds good. Let's go up to the top and talk. We'll just put it all in one word. Talk to Ellen, K6TV. Please let us know what it looks like from the top of the hill when this is all happening.
Talk. K6TV in the group. Net. Bob, good to hear you out there. Okay, I got a Simplex location to die for, or at least yearn for. And we had Simplex this morning. It was epic. Lovely to hear distant voices. But because of my elevated, clear view in all directions, I saw fireworks displays from Lake Elsinore, Canyon Lake, Hemet, Moreno Valley, Beaumont, San Bernardino, Fontana, Riverside, Pomona, Rancho Cucamonga. It's pretty spectacular up here, and because they're far enough away, I don't have the noise, although I do have a dog that does get trazodone and acepromazine as a method to keep me sane. And tonight there are a few random cray-crays out there trying to do their noise making, but it's not bad at all. And the only other thing I want to say is I finally got the two Baofeng 5R minis in my fist, and I haven't even turned the dang things on yet because I'm trying to read the instructions and figure out what the heck to do. I'd rather talk, not fool with machinery. Well, oops, don't say that, Ellen. This is a ham radio place. K6 TV, back to net.
Yeah, the UV5R minis are amazing. I mean, I can safely say that. Could we have 3 or 4 of them? Three, I think. And, everyone mentions the price, but they actually are pretty quality. They're, Baofeng, I always said, and we'll get into, since we mentioned it, Baofeng could have hung it up after the very first radio, which I got one of those, BV, I can't even remember the name of it. Okay. I keep thinking of call signs, and that's not working. So the BRV or whatever it is, it's behind me. They could have just hung it up then and just said, okay, here's your cheap Chinese radio. We're done. No, I mean, look what Baofeng's done. They're a pretty strong competitor in at least the Chinese radio market for sure. And even going up against some of the big names, I think they have some pretty good stuff. So very good, Ellen. And I think it would be beautiful up there. And you better stop having so much fun with that Simplex net. You know who going to come back and he's going to go, well, she's having more fun than I do. So maybe, we'll see. I think Evo's got UV5R. Thank you, Logan. You think that would come into my brain? No, but that's why I pay Logan the extra slide money. I slide him some at the breakfast, just say to help me out with those kind of things. Where am I? Oh, let's go down to, thank you, Ellen. Let's go to Steve, WA6FGW.
Okay. Hey, Bob. Good to hear you. WA6FGW here. Yeah, what I've got is not near as craziness as you guys, but it was unique, I think. One was, you might remember this, mail order in the backs of some of the early magazines. They used to advertise that you could buy this little toy cannon that resembled something from like World War II or whatever. And it had a little igniter sparker, if you will, that when you put it in, you added some sort of a powder, and maybe the chemists of the group can remind me what that was. And when the two would combine, the water and the how would you call it? It looked like something that was going to blow up. But anyway, you do it, and then you do the spark, and you get this humongous, green light flame stuck out the front. Anyway, somehow he talked his parents into letting him order one of those with bunches and bunches of the chemical. And so we had a good time making lots and lots of noise, although coloring was to be desired. The last but not least, kind of just really off the left shelf. But when I went off to college, the second year there at one of the dorms, we heard this huge boom sound. One of the guys, I guess he must have had his cigarette lighter with him, and he was in the bathroom, and he decided to drop a match down the toilet, or I should say down the drain, and I guess there was enough sewer gas to do a little bit of a noise there. It didn't apparently do any damage. At least no one said anything. But there you go. There's all kinds of possibilities for noise. Go ahead, Bob. WA6FGW. Keep going.
I do kind of remember those cannons. I think you can still get them on Temu for a price. And I always enjoy if anybody else watches Pawn Stars. So sometimes the guys will bring an actual cannon in and they'll go out and fire it with some kind of, I guess, a ball, one of the cannonballs, and see how far it goes. Those are kind of fun. So Yeah, I don't know. Big explosions. I suffer from like a little sudden fright syndrome, and it's just from a history of people coming up behind you with fake guns, like in the days of Knott's Berry Farm. I think I spent too much time there, and then the robbery guys would come out from and start shooting their guns off at me. And boy, as a kid, that was very traumatic. W6CJX for the Papa System, Great Outdoor Net. Thank you, Steve. Good to talk to you on the air, actually. I guess that's haven't done that in a while. Talk to you and or on the air. Well, moving forward, let's say hello to Greg at KK6WLD down in San Diego.
Good evening, Bob and Annette. Greg, KK6WLD. Checking in via Mount Woodson here, top of 15, from the Great Wilds outdoors of Mira Mesa. Out for an evening walk here. A lot of the local nightlife is out as well. Didn't go out to watch any of the fireworks. The local show combined with the neighboring neighborhoods show, and so it's kind of far away. And well, didn't sound that impressive anyways on Friday night. Saturday night we definitely stayed indoors, and there wasn't a whole lot of local, shall we say, fun. Just a couple loud bangs, and that was about it. And that's all right. You can enjoy the quiet and all that. Just as a fun little anecdote, growing up, I grew up in San Francisco, and the 4th of July fireworks were usually heard but not seen. You occasionally see some flashy clouds and fog banks, but anyways, that's about it for me. Back to you, Bob. KK6WLD.
Yeah, just as you said that, we just had a loud boom here. You know, I'm glad you said that about the San Francisco, because I probably would not know what you're talking about, but I do. We lived in Port Hueneme, and we decided to go to Ventura to watch fireworks, and it was in the morning. They do these weird times, and I know there's a reason for it, but I think it's the morning definitely, I think, is because they don't want people drinking, and, you know, and if they figure you're drinking in the morning, then you get more problems than fireworks. But you got we went up there and to Ventura, like Seaward area, and took my daughter. She had her clothes all. We got up early and got up there before sunrise. And yeah, all you saw was just these, like, it looked like cotton candy lighting up, you know, with all the clouds that came in. So it wasn't an exciting show at all. And we just went to McDonald's and had some pancakes. So it wasn't a total loss. All right, Greg, thanks a lot for coming in, and enjoy the night air. I bet it's beautiful. KC6, WTN, Jeff, and Simi, did you guys have, do you have the regular 4th fireworks? I think you said something over the air.
Hey, Bob, Jeff here in Simi Valley. Yeah, I'm on a hill about 1,000 feet up, and straight aligned is the park where they launch our local fireworks. Wasn't anything spectacular, you know, because sometimes you see fireworks go up where they have these like heart shapes or red, white, and blue. We didn't see that, but it's sponsored by the Kiwanis, and they're a nonprofit, so it was a good display, especially if you have a family and the kids just want to see fireworks. But I've got a few stories, but the big one that I remember, and it's more involved with explosions. I had a chemistry teacher back in high school up in Northern California, and he would buy pure sodium, and the goal was to take sodium, toss it in water, and you would see it explode. And that was his thing. But one year, he was saying he bought the sodium, and it came in a vacuum-packed container because it's highly volatile with oxygen and water and stuff like that. So here he pops the lid and realizes, oh crap, there's no hydrocarbon in this one. It's vacuum-packed. So I need some kind of oil or something to balance that out so it doesn't explode. So he runs around the campus trying to find a hydrocarbon. He eventually found the maintenance department. They drained part of one of their lawnmowers of the oil enough to where he could fill his container and prevent the thing from exploding. So I thought that was funny. KC6WTN.
Yeah, when you get into the chemical stuff, I guess that would be, well, it would be fun, but you could, you always see whatever cartoons and things of, people's little laboratories at home exploding. But I guess that would be interesting. I know there's two compounds that you can take with you anywhere as long as you don't mix them. And once you mix them, in fact, I think one's a powder and the other one is a liquid. And I know people are probably Googling or whatever, but I can't remember what the name of the two different glycanol something. Anyway, you put those two together and you got fire. So, and it'll work even if the wood's wet or anything. You just put this stuff on and you've got fire. So I always thought that was kind of an interesting thing. Yep, chemical explosions. And then, of course, we had Estes rockets, right? Who doesn't remember those? Those were cool. We always wanted them to explode, though. But then again, that would be an awful lot of work down the tubes. Thank you, Jeff. Very good. And let's, sounds like you were heading to your place next 4th of July. We'll make, who cares what the fireworks look like? We'll just have a few, toss back a few and have some fun. All right, let's say hello to Fred. W0, Papa Echo.
Yeah, good evening to you, Bob and Annette. Well, I got lots of stories of the fireworks at Disneyland over the years. I got to work with Mickey Aronson that did fireworks for a little over 50 years at the park. But the one that was, I wasn't there that night. I came in the next day, and they told me there was one switch on the console. If you put the one switch in the one position and hit the trigger button, everything went off. Well, guess what? Somebody had got in the bunker that day and somehow thrown that switch. They didn't catch it, and I think it was one of Mickey's sons did the fireworks that night. He hit the button on the first cue and the whole field went off. I guess it was the best fireworks display ever, but that was pretty crazy. Back to you, W0PE.
Well, that's amazing. And then they could blame it on Mickey. It was all Mickey's fault. He's the one that did it. His name just happens to be Mickey. That's amazing. Well, you figure, and they do that every night, right? Every night. Maybe not as elaborate as some, I guess, if it's a special occasion, of course. But yeah, and that brings up a memory. I know. It brings up another memory. One of my grandparents, set of grandparents, it was on my mom's side, lived in Garden Grove. So we were just backed right up to Disney, or they were backed up to Disneyland. And I enjoyed going there because it didn't matter what time of year you went, what day you went to visit, it just was, they always had fireworks every night. So we would stay and watch those, and it was kind of fun. So that reminds me of that. That's, yeah, it is pretty amazing, the pyrotechnics profession. All right, thank you, Fred. And let's say hello to Doug, who probably doesn't know a whole lot about pyrotechnics, but he likes to blow stuff up, right? Welcome, Doug, and what you got for us tonight?
Well, good evening, Bob, and everybody who's listening to the net. And yeah, I have a lot. We've played with my very first job. Actually, was at Red Devil Fireworks in Rialto, and we managed the company real well. I used to be Freedom Fireworks also, and in the summertime in high school there, we put up fireworks stands all over the place. San Diego's kind of weird with that, but Orange County and L.A. and San Bernardino and Riverside, we put stands all over to sell safe and sane fireworks for everybody to play with. And since we had friends with the company, we'd always get a huge box on our porch at 4th of July, a VIP box with a little bit of everything. And of course, we were in the end house on the street in the cul-de-sac, and we used to set up a little thing there, and we'd fire off pinwheels and all kinds of fun stuff. And growing up, my dad kept coming across the border in the 60s and 70s, we used to bring back all kinds of other fun toys to play with, the good cherry bombs, the good MPs and all that. And we were talking about those cannons earlier. We had a couple of those. They were called bang sights, and the little rubber wheels. And the little bang sight came to kind of like it was a granular stuff that came in a little thing that was like toothpaste tube. And you put a little bit of water in the bottom, and you actually had a flint striker that used to push down on it, and the thing went bang. Those were, and you know what? They're still around. You can still find them. And if you find them, I think you can still find them. But they were a lot of fun. But we blow up all kinds of stuff, and then I got into black powder, so I got a few pounds of that laying around. And that, and you can get all kinds of fun. But we had a lot of fun here. There was a few neighbors here that had the good displays going out, and seeing what they did in D.C. was just awesome last night. That went on and on and on and on. I can't believe it. It was almost like 40 minutes and nothing but fireworks. That was so awesome to watch, and there was just it was a lot of fun. And we just go down to Frisbee Park in Rialto and lay on the grass, and they had fireworks. And then one year we spent 4th of July up at Lake Arrowhead, and they floated a barge out lake full of fireworks, and they set it off there, and everybody was out in their boats along the shoreline watching the fireworks from that. That was a really cool summer. Anyway, thanks for the subject, and thanks for being out there, Bob. Back to Net Control, KJ6ACO.
Yeah, the barge thing they used to do up in Lake Tahoe. So when Carolyn and I lived up there, I don't know that we actually saw the fireworks together. I think I was probably working at the casino, and then I think her and her friend Kathy went down to Sand Harbor and over on the North Shore and was able to see the fireworks. I think I just went out back during the fireworks. I don't remember, but it's a beautiful place to see fireworks. Any lake, I guess, is what the point I'm getting to, is if it's on a lake or river or something with old water underneath, I think that would be pretty interesting. Right on, Doug. Okay, well, thanks for being there. And that's another perspective. You used to go around and set up those displays and the stands. And yeah, I guess I kind of always wanted to work at one of those too. I guess I probably could have. The Lions Club used to have one, and the Rotary, and just all the different clubs would have fundraisers. And so that'd be kind of neat. Let's say hello to Greg. I think it's Greg, KN6WRB, but correct me if I'm wrong. And anything you have for the net, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. It is Greg in Lake Elsinore, Kilo November 6, Whiskey Romeo Bravo. My fireworks memories kind of extend back to when I was, my wife and I met when I was 6 and she was 5, and we grew up together going to Disneyland and had the SoCal passes and got to see all the Disneyland fireworks. She actually got to see them from her house when she was a kid, so that was nice. I grew up in Huntington Beach and got to see the fireworks on the barge out in the ocean a couple times, but my dad was involved in public service, so on the few 4th of Julys he wasn't working, we kind of avoided downtown and the beach area and ended up with some friends in Garden Grove that had a neighborhood fireman that kind of kept things safe and sane, so to speak, and the best memories there were really the relationships with the people and the barbecues and stuff. I lived in D.C. for a few years and got to enjoy the fireworks out there. Last night, we got to enjoy some fireworks, but mostly just kind of kept an eye on the wildlife habitat behind our house to make sure it didn't catch on fire, and all good there. So not a ton of organic, independent firework experience, but that's the latest. Back to you, KN6WRB.
Well, thank you, Greg. Yeah, that's, and I do, since you said wildlife, I just want to make a PSA, public service announcement of, and it's a little late now, of course, but just always keep in mind of the pets. We had a little dog.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too.
I can't stop. Yeah. Anyway, we had the little dog, Dolly, and she just did not like fireworks at all. One little pop, and the very first pop that went off, she was gone and hides for about a week. So, and then, cats and everyone. So it's sad, but yet, they got to have some fun, and there's little tricks and things you can do. Turn up the stereo as loud as you can. I think Jeff was talking about that, WTN, and just crank it up, and that way they can't hear it as much. We babysit our grand dog yesterday, and he was okay with it. Normally, he got a little, like, what's that? What's going on? And then we just turned the TV up, and we had both on. We had the Macy's and the Washington D.C., and it was spectacular, absolutely. And so I think we haven't recorded W6CJX for the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. I want to thank everyone for coming by tonight. And in case you didn't know,
the Papa System has a great outdoor net archive that can be found on the Papa System website by accessing the homepage and drop down the YouTube tab with over 100 episodes that you can listen to anytime. These are a non-for-profit podcast for the pure love and joy of the great outdoors and amateur radio.
Absolutely. And last week, for this last month of June, we actually had 300 downloads from Podbean. So I don't know where they take their surveys, but it's up 77% just in that 1 month. So thank you to all the people that do listen out there and listen to the podcast each Monday afternoon. I usually have it published by then. But I clean it up a bit and shorten it and do different things, and it comes out sounding pretty good. So with that, I want to thank everyone on the Papa System, as far as, of course, all of you, and then everyone that's on the system that makes everything happen, makes everything work, and behind the scenes, and Cecil with his legendary leadership, and, of course, all the net controllers and all the people climbing towers, and our good friend Darren, and everyone, Chris, and everyone puts their lives on the line each time they climb one of those towers for us, right? They're doing it to help us out and all that. So glad we made it through. We start our week here on Sunday nights on the Great Outdoor Net, so it's not so bad. Not really so much Monday. You guys are, yeah, sure. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I enjoy Mondays. I get to edit. So have a good one, and we'll look forward to hearing everyone later in the week on one of the other mini nets that we do have. And W6CJX will close the net at 21:13. And say 7-3.